Hello everyone, welcome to the 8th KK chess series. Today we're going to talk about something different, and that is position advantage. As beginners, have you ever wondered how to evaluate a position? Is white an advantage or is black better? Today and for the following classes, I'm going to teach you some criteria of evaluating a position to determine which side is an advantage. So here are the 4 main criteria we use. First, material advantage. Second, king safety. Third, activity of pieces. And fourth, pawn structure. In today's class, we will focus mainly on the first two, the material advantage and king safety advantage. So to begin with, what is material? Material is the sum of the value of pieces you have on the board. The pawn is worth 1 point. The knight and bishop are worth 3 points each. The rook is worth 5 points. The queen is worth 9 points or 10 points. Some teachers teach it differently, and it doesn't make that much of a difference. The knight and bishop are called light pieces because they are relatively less valued than the rook and queen. The rook and queen then are called heavy pieces. But have you ever wondered, we didn't give the king a specific value. For example, if this bishop is removed away from the board, then we lose 3 points. This is how we define the points. However, if we move the king away from the board, then we simply lose the game. So we can't value the king from that perspective. However, in some endgames, when the king actually participates in the fighting, we give it a 4-point value. How did experts get this conclusion? I don't really know. I just suggest you remember that the king is worth 4 points in endgames. Now to the second position advantage, the king's safety. This is the most obvious one. The king's safety is the priority one of all of the positional advantages. If your king is in safety and your opponent is in big threat, for example, you have a mate in 1 and opponents cannot evade it, then you have guaranteed a win for this game, no matter how the pieces are distributed on a board. Now let's look at an example. White plays knight to g5. The correct move for black is to play d5. But sometimes it tricks white by playing bishop to c5. White sees a chance of gaining material advantage. White can play knight to f7, where it captures a pawn and forks black to pieces. When black escapes one of the pieces, white then captures the others. We see that the computer gives an approximate 2.2 advantage for white. That is pretty big among some professional players. However, black has a counterattack. When white plays knight to f7, black can play bishop to f2. Now let's say that for now on, white follows a principle. If it can capture a piece, it captures, bringing its material advantage to the largest. Now white really wants to capture black's queen, but its king is under check. If white captures the black queen, then it loses its king, so white must do something with its king first. Let's say that white captures this bishop, which is not the best move in this position. Then black plays knight to e4. This is also a forcing move. White has to do something with his king. Let's just say that white plays king to f1. Obviously, still a blunder. Black can play queen to h4, threatening posing a threat on f2. Now white has no time to capture the rooks. It has to deal with its king's safety. We see that through these moves, black has gained access of these squares of its knight and queen. Let's just say that white still blunders with the move queen to e2. Black has a beautiful tactic over here. Knight g3. White is forced to capture it. Black captures the rook on h1. White must move king to f2. Now let's analyze this position. From the material perspective, we find white and black to have equal materials. White has 4 light pieces, knight, bishop, bishop, knight, and black only has 2. So white is up 6 points. However, black has an extra rook and pawn, which is also 6 points. So they equate and no one has an advantage for material. You see that white's only goal is to take as many pieces as it can, but however, due to its unsafety of the king, it cannot maintain its advantage in material. Let's move on to see. In this position, the computer says that black is in great advantage, in negative 3.35, but we see that the material is exactly the same. Why? Because white's king is in great danger. Let's look at the moves later. Black can play castle, keep on posing a threat on the f-file. White wants to hold on to its pieces, so it plays queen to f3. Now take note that white has a beautiful tactic over here. If black does nothing, then white can play knight to h6. This is a double check with its knight and bishop attacking the king at the same time. The king is forced to move to h8, and white has a beautiful checkmate on f8. So black has to do something. Black does this actually by giving up more pieces, sacrificing, that is the term. White has to take it with the bishop. Black sacrifices the bishop. White takes it. And the later variations are pretty complicated. I'm not gonna expand it. I'm just gonna show you one of them to help you understand how important the king's safety is compared to material. Black plays knight to d4. White double checks. The king moves away. White jumps its knight back, hoping for a draw. Black refuses a draw by capturing the knight. White captures back. Black captures the bishop. Let's just say that white is awful greedy and wants to capture the knight back. Now directly, black can checkmate white in a series of moves. We see that in this position, white is actually up a lot of material. White has a bishop and a knight in hand and is only down a pawn. However, the king is in great danger and almost no pieces can help out. So there's a direct checkmate for black. Black plays rook to f1. White plays king to e2. Black plays queen to f1. White plays king e3. Queen f2. King d3. Queen d4. King e2. Queen e4. King d1. And rook f1. This is a direct checkmate for black. We see that in this position, still similar where it's up material, but it's not doing anything. The king is in so much danger that it keeps on escaping, and it has no time to develop its pieces. In the end, the king did not manage to escape and got captured by black. So this is exactly how important the king's safety is. Now, I didn't say that the material is not important, but compared to the king's safety, it is definitely incompatible. In the next few classes, I will talk about the other positional advantages, the activity of pieces, and the pawn structure. I will use this game as another illustration because it is a pretty example of the importance of activity of pieces. So this will be the end of this course, and thank you all for listening.